the table, welcome to the table, and you are welcome to the feast. Amazing. One more time, congregation. Welcome to the table. You're finding it. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table, and you are welcome to the feast. I know you've already been eating. The feast has already been served, but maybe you wish to invite someone else who's been dining with you in front of you or at a table. Will you sing it to someone else? Invite them. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table. And you are welcome to the feast. One more time. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table. And you are welcome to the feast. During those days of pandemic, endless Zoom meetings. Do you remember those days, friends? A friend of mine adapted this song, and I'm going to invite those who are on Zoom right now, and we can say, welcome to the Zoom call. Welcome to the Zoom call. Welcome to the Zoom call. And you are welcome to unmute. You might take or might not take that literally, friends. One last time. Maybe you hear some harmony. It's good to be together. Welcome to the table. Oh, welcome, welcome to the table. Oh, welcome to the table. And you are welcome to the feast. Friends, this is a sort of a feast of song or a feast of conversation. We're here together at this time to take the temperature, take stock, pay attention, notice, maybe slow ourselves down a little bit to the practice of noticing before you go ahead with a process of hiring another musician to serve this congregation. It feels like such an important time to stop and say, thanks be to God. What was good? What are we grateful for? What do we wish to continue to sustain and enliven here? And also a moment to say, what are we continuing to wonder about, dream toward, and maybe ask ourselves, is there something or are there things we wish to hear or discover or experience together as community? To pause, to take a moment and simply breathe. As a congregation, I think the energy that I often experience when I do work with communities is, we've got to find someone now. If anyone's ever served on a pastor nominating committee or been through an interim time in a community, right? It's not an easy time. It can be an anxious time. But I want to be clear that you're sitting with some of the not knowing right now. You're sitting with some of the questions will be very valuable to you and to your search committee. Because not only are you here representing your voice within the congregation, but members of the search committee are here. And friends, they're listening too. And they're going to gather, and based on what they're discerning and hearing in the life of the community, they're also going to pay attention and listen. And you're helping them when they write a job description to, I hope, embed more of you into that job description. Does that make sense? From a practice of gathering our voices together, being a community, because that is indeed, friends, what worship is, right? It is our being together in community, in the presence of God, giving back to God just a small measure of what God has given to us. And so we root ourselves deeply there. So with that, maybe you might not just welcome someone else, but you might welcome yourself into this space. And will you sing one more time? Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table. And you are welcome to the feast. You are welcome yourself, yes. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the table. And you are welcome to the feast. Will you just let out a good here we are. The first question I'd like to ask, and we're going to do this in a variety of ways today. I've got some questions to ponder. And because there are some of us, we feel much more comfortable speaking aloud. You know who you are. We have folk in the community who much rather take some time, reflect, or even share with a partner. We're going to do some both external and internal reflection based on some questions. If you need clarification or you're like, hey, I didn't understand what you said, please let me know. But I want to engage us quickly in this wondering. Friends, what are you noticing? And this may not be just these last weeks, but through this program year, through the last arc of time you can remember here at Potomac, what have you been noticing in your worship and music life together? Not particularly just around music, but I do think that often music is a central and important part of how we pray, right? Just popcorn style in the community for the moment. Just friends, what are things that you've been noticing, feeling, hearing, sensing? That could also include moments of, that was different. Or, I love that. I know that. That's familiar. What are you noticing in and around music and worship here at Potomac in the last, let's just say, season? Call out your words. So, hymns from a longer time past. Now I say, beloved hymns. Say that one more time. Thank you. Thank you.
Hearing the great hymns of the church.
Okay, so have not been here. Great. Okay.
A harder time hearing, so maybe would you mind using the mic? Sorry.
I don't mind at all.
Flip it on, sorry.
Thank you. I will use this. Thank you. I don't want hearing to stop anyone from being able to hear me or participate. Thank you. So, have not been hearing beloved hymns. What else are you noticing? And friends, this is a question again, tapping into what you've seen and experienced, what you know from your experience here at worship. Come.
I've noticed as youth that have participated in this services with their instrumental and vocal and piano playing skills and talent. I think that's pretty cool, and I think they've really gotten a lot out of it themselves performing in church, and I hope that that will continue and thrive even more.
Great. So the involvement in particular of youth in the life of the community and engaging in creative and musical expressions. Yeah, thank you. Other things, yeah.
I like the fact that the choir is
A shift in the location of the choir from the loft down to the front of the community. And again, not knowing you and not knowing what your patterns have been historically, thank you. That's good to notice. Something has shifted or something has changed. It was a COVID move. It's great to know. Yeah.
I think we should pay a lot more use of world music too, which I really enjoy learning.
More use of music from the global church or from outside of perhaps our Western or hymn sources. Yeah. Others. There was one here. Yeah.
Well, I also thought it was really nice after COVID that, just like the adult choir came and the children's choir performs. I mean, I love that. Like, I love seeing.
So joint connections, they were performing together.
Yeah, I think like
Thank you.
I do have.
Yeah.
The harmony lines have been removed from the oral singing.
So noticing that there's perhaps a simplification of the music.
Just play the melody line.
Noticing melodies are more common in the hymnal. That's partly also, I will say, as someone who's knows the new hymnal fairly well, space-saving device for partly for keeping the congregations. And wondering, is that a question? Is that something that we miss? Being able to sing congregational harmony?
Yes.
Yeah. Others, what are you noticing? Yeah.
I find the easier to sing melody lines more.
Thank you.
I don't like the newer music that provides sense of connection, even though I don't
So noticing, can I just notice, yay, we don't all notice the same things, nor do we all need or experience the same things in worship. And I want to honor that we already see contrast and difference in perspective. That is healthy and beautiful.
And we need both. I'm not saying that one is right or one is wrong, but I think we need both, not just always being, but I think there's less on.
Yeah, well, we're holding a place right now for noticing, not judging. And I know, can you hear that or feel that difference? We're not talking about necessarily what I like or what I need, but wondering just what are we experiencing as a community? That's hard work, but it's worth doing, I think, in this moment. What else? Any others? Please, your voices are very warmly welcome. Yeah.
Well, there's a traditional hymn that I love. We all know, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and that is something I love in the garden. Well, I love that. But recently it was such a gift to us, to our congregation, that Cindy Melanian sang a different song that I've never heard moved me equally about being in the garden. So I'm noticing how you juxtapose the old and the new and appreciate both.
A juxtaposing of old and new. And again, noticing that we respond. I heard you talk about your emotional response to both old, something beloved and something that was new to you. Yeah, thank you. Others, yes.
I would love accompanying musical instruments more frequently. I don't know whether it would be from time to time with your brass, but I love the inclusion of other instruments.
So listening for more instrumental colors within the context of worship is what I'm hearing. But also, friends, your noticing might be, are the instruments that lead worship fairly steady from week to week? Are you hearing the same instruments from week to week generally? And is there variety? I'm asking as someone who doesn't worship here, except for one time back in November, which was joyful and fun, thank you. But organ and piano?
Right, that's what I was gonna add, is some clarity to,
Please.
We have organ and piano regularly. We have in our contemplative services during Lent, we often have guitar. We often have brass ensembles on special occasions. And am I missing some, guys? Some flute, some other instruments, but yeah, which one? Handbells.
Handbells?
Yeah.
Any other instruments that we can recollect hearing in the last time? Cello. We have
Maybe
a
a
cello.
ukulele.
Bagpipes.
Bagpipes, we have about once
That's
a
a hard
year.
one to miss. Flute.
Beautiful.
Oh, wow. Great. The saw. Like literally the musical saw.
Yes.
So you need to tell me when that's going to happen in worship next so I can come and experience that firsthand. Beautiful. Yes.
There's a church that I go to in the summer, and 15 minutes before the service, they have hymn sing. So you get to request your favorite hymn. And it's very well attended. And so for those who say, well, I'd like to hear more of my beloved hymns or what, we might consider doing that in the summer, perhaps, and saying 15 minutes before the service, we're going to have hymn sing. You can request your favorite hymns then.
So noticing that there's a curiosity around wondering ways that we can share the things that are of value to us, that are important, that we find great both comfort and joy in. And again, friends, we're not moving in this moment towards what I would call problem solving or making a list of to-dos so much as we're just, I know this is hard. What are we noticing? What are you feeling? How, may I ask, and I have a hunch because I know Pastor Emily, how connected do you feel music and the preached word are together? Does the music resonate with themes of the season? Does it feel like it's moving in the same direction, in another direction?
Always.
That's a powerful noticing. Friends, in some congregations that I visit, the musician and the pastor do not talk to each other about particulars or themes. And sometimes the choir will sing something completely disconnected from what the pastor's preaching. Do you know how that feels as a person who's preaching on Sunday? But I want to say that's a powerful noticing. That says to me intentionality, care, and planning, all of which are really important in life of the community. There are a few more, maybe just a few more to speak about, and then I've got a question for you, and I've got some post-it notes. Yeah.
Well, I did notice, I think starting maybe last summer, that the congregation was able to sign up or be assigned to provide music over the summer. So we have some very talented adults that like play vibraphones and like really cool things. So that.
Yeah. So summer musicians, and would you from the congregation? So someone who is actually coordinating musicians from the community to bring varied musical offerings during the summer. That's a good noticing. Good.
I also feel that that's part of the responsibility of our new choir director, organist, however you want to put it. That, yes, you say, well, would you sign up for the summer or something? But I think they need to look over this and say, well, we haven't had people signing up. Let me check with so-and-so. And the other thing is because of the screens that we're using, you don't have to come in that particular Sunday. For instance, Cindy and her daughter did something together and it was put up by video. So you might say, well, I'm going away for the summer. But I do feel that the new choir director, that is a major part of her job, not only with the summer musicians, but also the talent that we have within this church is used.
Cultivate that. I want to notice, you just said something to a noticing that I want to pull out. You have had musicians who have their gifts not just in in-person worship, is that correct?
Right.
So that to me tells me that there's an intentionality in noticing hybridity, creativity around using your resources. Friends, I hope I'm giving you some things that you can notice that are encouragements to the good work that you're doing around the new space we're in.
The pictures on the video screen on some of the songs that have been played. Fantastic.
Noticing images used during worship. Perfect. What a wonderful noticing. That is enriching for you, your experiences, that's enriching your experience of worship. Good, yeah.
One thing I've noticed is a smaller amount of people, it feels like to me in choir, like a lot of Sundays I know, like I can make it, and Charlie's on the bass, or Charlie can make it on the bass, and then it seems like that's kind of a theme of the choir.
So this is really important, post or late COVID, noticing patterns of participation or of leadership that the choir has been smaller enrollments this year. And then noticing a dependence on a few key people. You're not alone, friends, in that. You're not alone. The resuming of COVID. May I ask, here's another question. If you were to close your eyes in the middle of a hymn, let's just say that you're singing, and I know that means you couldn't sing if you were reading the music, but what would you hear? Are you aware of voices around you as you sing? Whose voices are leading you? And noticing just around your space. How many of you have tried that ever in worship? Just close your eyes and listen.
It's been very difficult to do because primarily the organ plays too loud because it can't hear the volume
from the balcony upstairs. So noticing that there's a question, noticing from you that it sounds like it's too loud and maybe the community is having trouble hearing itself. That's question.
You can tell the difference when the piano.
Great. This is noticing, friends. This is the paying attention to the fact that something changes in the way the community is able to hear itself based on the instrument that's used. That's important because that can deeply shape the way you experience a piece of sacred music, even a beloved hymn, one that you love to sing. If the organ is playing so loud that you can't hear yourself sing, I have to wonder how that's affecting your voice and your ability to worship. Those are questions that we want to hold.
Add to that same line of choir disperses from singing together. Choir walk, we're now in front of the next person's that have. Oh, if you're not actively inclined. So.
Noticing.
Yeah. I found that. I mean, yes, sometimes the organ may be too loud to do that, but I think other times I can hear the voices that can lead us.
So contrary to some of our, even our architecture sometimes fights this. We put all the strongest singers in one part of the church and everyone else is left to fend for themselves. A model that you're saying is you've noticed at times when the choir has been dispersed in the community, it's actually been empowering. John Bell says that if people sit more than 4 feet away from each other in worship, they're less inclined to sing boldly because they can't hear another voice to help. Someone over here, yeah.
So to me, there's a hurdle to getting over new music. So oftentimes we introduce new versions of songs or new things in songs or hymns.
Yeah.
But they're very difficult to adopt over the organ if you really can't hear what's going on. But if you do something more participatory, like we did at the beginning of here, it makes it much easier to learn something. So the participatory pieces, we're going to introduce something new.
No, so noticing that when we engage something new as a congregation, that learning curve, I will say what I call it is kind of anxiety. We all want to get it right. I do. And I think most of us who are sort of inclined to feel good about what we're doing together want to succeed. So is that, as you think about and reflect on worship, is it a skill or a kind of experience you want to have more frequently if you've not been having those? If new music has been leading you to, as a congregation, feel deflated and disoriented, then how can that shift? And that's a good wondering.
Also, another one in there, I think it's coming over the time, but watch us online. So I'm just trying to do that initial music.
So at the beginning of worship right now, what would I hear?
But that would be a little different today.
You did, you sang.
What did you sing? God's love is strong and it never ends. Thank you for noticing.
And that does start to be one of them is to spark your interest. We sing 6, and by the end, it was like the weekend, please. And it's important to keep it connected to what's going on. It's very powerful and engaging.
Right? Noticing, okay, so I want to pull that back into noticing language because this is my work, is noticing moments where long hymns, you've experienced long hymns and heard others in the community say, having experiences of music with very long texts is challenging and can be taxing, depending again on your background and your experience musically, but also noticing that there have been moments where there are shorter songs that create a little bit more participation and wondering what their role or purpose might be alongside. And I want to be careful here, friends. I want to put my card. I am maximalist. That's what I guess they call it now. Or I love the fact that we can sing the beauty of a tradition that goes back 2,000 years and written yesterday. And that church is one of the few just great blessed spaces we actually get to hold all of that. Guess what? That comes with some tensions, doesn't it? it comes with some challenges, and we are called to be in dialogue about those and to name them aloud. I want to move to another place, and I'm going to hand out some Post-it notes. And here's the question that I'd like for you to just take a quick moment, be intuitive, and you can write why, but I just simply want you to know, to write down. Where are places? Can you name this? Can you limit this to 2 or 3? Places frequently experience connection to God in worship. So I'll hold that question. I'm going to hand them out. But where are 2 or 3 places you frequently experience a connection to the divine? Let's just say, or something bigger than you in worship together here at Potomac Pres.
On the tables.
I've got them. So I'm just going to hand these around. And friends, hand around some Post-it notes. Write down your 2 or 3. In this gallery of people together, could be Sunday morning, but I think about worship on Sunday morning. Where do you experience connection to God? Use that Post-it note, pass them around, take one, and just use it to write down the 2 or 3 places you experience connection to God in worship. In worship. Specifically in this time where we're gathered as a community of faith. Write them down. We're going to bring them up to put on some Post-it notes on the paper. Give you a couple minutes to do that. Thank you very much for bringing pens around. 2 or 3 places where do you experience connection to God in worship? Two or 3 places you experience connection to God in worship. And I'm going to come around and gather these from you, and then we're going to read them aloud.
Sticky ones, this is just normal. Normal.
Some others. I'll take the ones we've got. Thank you. Got a few more. I feel like Chris, you're like my assistant over here. I don't have any, with the microphone, I only have so many hands. But I'm gonna read a few of these, friends, and I'm gonna let you hear from each other. And what I can also know, God welcomes all strangers and friends. God's love is strong and it never ends. I'm going to just read a few of these. And friends, why are we doing this? This information, and these words will go into a document that the search committee is going to have to look at and to reflect on. And this and other questions, I have just a few more for you for today. Thank you. So where are we feeling connected to God, and where does that happen in worship? Here. Beautiful. Communion. During worship, singing of hymns. Will everyone praise together out loud, like the affirmation, singing together and listening to the sermon. Sermon, Bible reading and prayers, clapping and singing, prayers, hymns, and parts of sermons, singing hymns that are speaking of who God is, focusing on him and leading us to think of him, asking congregation for prayers, bells, piano, or singing solo, the passing of the peace, singing, silence, prayer, the Lord's Prayer, confession, and the ending blessing, sermon, communion, singing, and song, silent prayer, and the sermon during communion. Was it a communion Sunday today? Yeah. Oh, I'm happy it was a communion Sunday. Singing of favorite hymns I sang with my grandmother as a child. Friends, that's a powerful experience when something you do in the moment brings you back to a place or a time in your life before. World music, special solos, prayer of confession, and sermon. During Glory to God whose goodness shines on me. I did not write that. During the sermon, during hymns and special music. Are you getting some themes here? Communion, postlude, music, communion, prayer, choir sings. Emily, I am so grateful that so many people are remembering the sermon as an important and connecting place. And the benediction, traditional hymns, prayer of confession, prayer during the hymns, singing the passing of peace, singing silent and personal prayers of confession, response, bell choir, sermon, communion, world music. Did you hear that? There was classic music and world music, both in the same. Sermon, prayers, music, scripture, visual images, organ music, singing hymns, singing during prayer. I don't know how many times I read the word singing. I think it was almost every other. So one of the ways that community expresses, enacts a relationship with the Holy One is through your voices. That's profound, and that doesn't surprise me. You know, St. Augustine said, when one sings, one prays twice. And there is something about the way singing integrates us, body, mind, spirit, and voice. It takes a whole person to sing and rejoice. There's this incredible sense of unity we find in that. So find someone who will lead your singing as a community in this time and in this place. And let's just place ourselves, friends, because what you might have been looking for in a music leader 4 years ago is now different. And for every congregation in this world, or at least in this sort of Western world, we are looking for and finding that our needs for the skills that are needed, the creativity, the innovation, the thoughtfulness that are required, as well as the technical and liturgical skill, are all shifting. COVID was in that way a great reckoner, but we have a new perspective of what's possible. And so this next question I'd like to ask, and this is what I'd like for you to do as a table. And you can get to know the folks around your table. I'm going to give you a few minutes for this. I'm going to hand around just some larger pieces of Post-it note. Friends, what are the essential skills? What are the essential skills and qualities of leadership you believe this community needs for its next journey forward? I don't necessarily mean that you are going to prescribe what their job is, but competent keyboard skills might be one thing. You do want someone who can play the piano and the organ. That's like maybe I would say a no-brainer. At the same time, what are the kind of more ineffable skills the ways in which people come to the table. People might even call them pastoral skills, because pastors have to cultivate these too. Being able to communicate with people, being a teacher, being able to be taught. I don't know, you may have language that's much richer. Some of you work in HR, I know you do. Some of you work in hiring and in employment spaces. And my question is what are the baseline skills that you ask for, but even beyond and above that, what do you really think a person who would work here needs to be able to do well? What are the leadership skills and qualities? So I'm going to hand around some blue, and I'm going to ask you as a table, someone be a scribe and write them down.
You want me to jot them down here as well, or just keep the same? Yeah. Your note taker. Yeah, call us and then
Right.
Yeah. Perfect.
Make sure there's space for everyone at the table to have a word to share. Some churches, it's but I knew it was very Be sure to give everyone a chance to share. The folks on Zoom are welcome to use the chat to type their answers to this question too. I love the passion and care. Very sweet. Take another minute or two. I'll call you back with a song. Keep on going. Come, let us worship God. Come, let us worship God. Let's worship God. Welcome, everyone, to the love of God. Come, bring your answers back. You've got some good ones. Welcome, everyone. Actually, do you know what? Hold on to that. To the love of God. To the love of God. I wonder, actually, it's going to be much more effective, I think, for those of you who are, you had a scribe at your table, will there be someone who might just come to offer? I want to make sure folks in Zoom world can make sure that they can hear us. But I wonder if you read yours aloud, and I can echo some of them back in through, but who would like to begin to share first? Who's got these are qualities of leadership and skills that are essential. Want to go first? Want to start us off? We'll go 1, 2, 3 to start.
1, 2, or 3.
Read them loud and clear.
We got person of deep faith, a recruiter, a team player, team building. We need a leader. Respect the sacredness and gravitas of musical presentation and worship. Those are.
Thank you so much. So again, recruiter is a word that I heard. That's one that I want to kind of flag, but also, can you read that last one again? I want to make sure we can hear that.
Respect the sacredness and gravitas of musical presentation participation and work.
So just a hearing from that group that there's something special about what happens when we make music in church, and someone who's able to sense what is unique, special, and deeply sacred about that. It's not like what we do in other parts of our lives. There is a set apartness, isn't there, to worship that is very important. Cool. Another table. This one? Yeah, Sam.
So we had a full range of music desired, an engagement of the congregation, encouragement of youth, more exciting songs that would include clapping or other activities, collaborative with the minister and the words spoken during the service.
So collaborative, that's a powerful word. Again, pulling a thread that I heard from earlier conversations, a way in which a musician has already functioned in this space, but also I heard energy, embodiment, participation, and what would that and feel like and look like for a community, and a leader who was comfortable facilitating that in a way that felt authentic. I think, friends, it's important to recognize that not everything is for everyone, but gracious and hospitable leadership doesn't shame people into doing what they want them to do. It invites them into participating. And there's a balance there, isn't there? How many of you have been shamed by someone into participating? How many of you have been genuinely invited into participating? The laughs tell me everything I need to know. Yeah. This table over on the side, then we're just going to go around the circle.
Someone should be able to manage multiple personalities, being a people person and connecting at their level, being able to recruit and train at any level, humility so that you can yield to others' gifts, helping keep up musical contributions so everyone encourages congregational musicians so they feel appreciated and want to come back, help others feel they belong, willing to start with a praise and worship section, able to start worship with choruses so people enter in joyfully, dynamic, flexible, adaptable, pre-prelude so that you're drawn to worship joyfully.
Wow, that's an incredible list, but again, what I heard there.
That was not me.
I heard words that are connected to energy, relationship. There was a word like bringing people into the spirit of what we're doing together. Friends, I want to name this. That is a very particular leadership skill. Not everyone wants to stand up and invite others. So let's notice that. Again, as you go looking for a musician, you may have several musicians who are very well qualified who you're going to interview. And based on what you have discerned and are helping us discern, your search committee discern is the best set of skills we need, that one of those people who has more gifts in that area may be the better choice, right? So those are just noticing shades of how we define and name these leadership skills can really matter in the end. How about this table here?
The skills that we came up with were leadership, faithfulness, and understanding. A music director that is also an organist and pianist, and not the other way around. Full-time job, relatability, making others in terms of the congregation a part of the music. We have openness, a person that's humble and friendly. They have a clear understanding that we'll have a clear understanding of whether the music director will be able to use 4 sections of leaders, or are they able to utilize the congregation. Then we also have, they encourage the talents in the church. They incorporate newer hymns, such as Hillsong and others. And then we also have that they incorporate the youth and older congregation.
I'm hearing a lot of interesting overlay and overlap. Youth again came up there, but also faithfulness. Friends, when musicians come to serve a community, congregations often are able to compensate them at a part-time, because I think this will be at least for now a part-time job that as is coming up. I don't know all the particulars, the search committee does, but still to know that the musician that's coming has deep connection to and care for the people who are in that place. And it's not just another job, but a sense of, can I say this, calling to service to the church. That's an important leadership skill, and that's not something you find everywhere. So that we name that we say a faith person of faith, of deep faith, I even think I heard over here. Thank you. How about we go one and then two?
Sure, we have someone who's a team player, friendly, leadership skills, decisive, but also adaptable. Someone who has generational appeal. What goes with that is holding on to old traditions, but also moves us forward in our music. Conducting skills, someone who has vision, and a great phrase that you coined, someone who can perform musical executive function.
That is a gift. Thank you. Musical executive function. And friends, I don't know what you know, but those choir anthems have to get filed after they're sung. Payroll sometimes needs to get done. Communication needs to happen with your choir so they know when to show up and what they're singing this Sunday. Those are important details. And if someone doesn't have some of those key pieces of skill, they sometimes can be developed, especially if it's a younger musician. But sometimes musicians are not particularly skilled at organization. And that's something you have to also remember too. It's an occupational maybe hazard. This final table. Thank you. These are rich, friends. These are so rich.
We had someone who works well with children and youth, working piano and vocal capability and competency, strong Christian faith, personable, patient, and having a sense of humor. Someone who touched on the same point of a person who's a director of music, and then also an organist as opposed to an organist who maybe is not a director of music. Knowledge of church and popular music, someone who's flexible, a good communicator, organized, inclusive, and receptive.
Great, thank you. These all go on a list. The search committee is really going to be excited to use these, and there's some overlap and overlay, and we'll share that. But friends, beautiful. Two more questions before we leave. I realize your time is precious, and I don't want to take too much. This is a question we can do more of in a popcorn style. What are some gifts or skills that are going unused or underused in this community? And I know I don't want to frame that as a negative, but are there skills that are unused or underused in this community vis-a-vis worship and music that maybe wish to be shared, could be shared? As you think about the dream of what you imagine music ministry at Potomac Presbyterian Church could be, are there some voices that are not present that have been or might be?
To that point, take advantage of other singers in other churches. A long time ago, we had a wonderful choir, and that's third chosen black to have that sing. But there would be an opportunity to have other groups of people sing.
So relationships with other choirs, community choirs, other churches. Can you I just am new to the DMV. I just moved here in December of 2022, okay? I'm astounded at what kind of community music making is happening on the ground here in this area. There are regional and other kinds of choruses, and a musician and a congregation that would welcome, it sounds like, more guests to come to share and to share out of what they can authentically offer to you. Maybe that's a place for growth and possibility, new relationships. Anything else? What is unused, underutilized, or are there some things we're missing?
I never heard artists said this, but I think here, not only adults, but there's so much talent in these youth that we have. I mean, even, there's great, like, we have some like almost professional dancers, like these young people. And like to go kind of be more creative and like have like my mom was like this liturgical dance, like someone who's gonna like spearhead that and like make it happen. There's so many things that we do and composers, you know, there's a lot that could happen that feels very additional.
And it wants to, or it's supported or helped by not just one person in the church or in the church staff who's saying, yes, let's do that, but a team and someone who's willing to also think outside the box to say, hey, I met this, or we have someone in the community who might be willing to share their gifts and say, how could we do it? And friends, if it didn't go well, or if it's an experience that you say, well, probably not again, well, at least you said we tried. What a gift to each other to give a space for trying and learning, and especially for younger musicians and for older musicians. Friends, all of us who are looking for ways to be welcomed and received for what we have to give. Yeah.
Is it clear that you're considering a full-time job?
I am not sure about that, and I think
That's what I misunderstood, that it has to be a full-time job. It's more than a full-time job.
well, and you're actually noticing.
Why do you say no?
Oh, I'm not privileged to speak for the search committee in terms of the decision that would offer in terms of the role and how many hours a week that would entail. I am here to encourage.
It can't be an hours a week job, it's a full-time job.
And in that sense, there's a tension that you name, and I want to name it, and that is ministry, as Pastor Emily and Pastor Chris will attest, is not something that you turn off when you leave the church. You are on, as you say, and there's a way in which you are doing this work, whether you're here in this building or away from this building. And that is a mindset of ministry, if I could name it, that I think, regardless of the number of hours a person works a week, is something you're seeking. Yeah, super. Yeah. Yeah, we've had varying children's choirs, both in number of kids and age of kids, which is great to give them a chance to sing together, learn to sing. But what's missing is we have children who are, learning piano, trumpet, flute, guitar, whatever. It'd be nice to have a leader who might bring them together for an instrumental piece at some point. And the adaptability and the creativity that requires is important. That's a skill of composing or arranging. Or do you know the famous composer Benjamin Britten? He wrote marvelous operas. Do you know he wrote a children's opera once in which you could participate in the orchestra only if you played on the open strings of your violin? He wrote parts for the most advanced players and for the beginners, and they could sit side by side and make music together. Now that's a particular kind of artistic brilliance, but what that also is an imagination that music and music making aren't diminished by having beginners and more advanced folks sitting next to each other, but we all gain something, we all learn together. Isn't that powerful? I wonder how church can be more like that kind of a space for us. Good. I think I have something in front of you, and I wanted to notice the time. Come upon us, come restore us, come inspire us, breath of God. Even if you don't want to pick up the music for the moment, I invite you to echo me, listen. Come upon us. Try that. Come upon us. Come restore us. Come restore us. Come inspire us, breath of God. Come inspire us, breath of God. If you hold out that word, breath of God, get a good breath before you sing it. It was like night and day, friends. Put those 4 phrases together. Listen one more time. Come upon us, come restore us, come inspire us, breath of God. Try it. Come upon us, come restore us, come inspire us, breath of God. Before we conclude with some prayer, I would love for you to listen. I'm going to sing the first part of the hymn. Breath of God, breath of peace, breath of love, breath of life, breath of justice, breath of passion, breath creating, breath of healing, breath of singing, breath of praise. You know this now. Come, you can hum with me if you like. Sing together. As I thought about something to frame this last part of our conversation, I want to thank you, first of all, for your time. Thank you for what you shared, what you're noticing. And that's a question I would love for you to continue to carry with you through these next weeks. Share with each other. I noticed something today. I heard, I saw, I felt, I experienced. Even if that's to say, that was not comfortable for me. We can frame those pieces of feedback in non-judgmental terms and in not that you need to fix it for me, but just to say, that was hard for me and it didn't make sense. And that's actually a powerful way of letting each other know that we have different opinions and different ideas and that we are paying attention. I don't know about you, but when someone pays attention to what I've offered and doesn't just truly try to dismiss it or tell me, oh, it'll get better, it's hard. Take each other's feedback and ideas seriously, with love and with compassion. You may not agree, but wow, we're in a Christian community where we get to actually be side by side in places that aren't always easy. And music, can I tell you, is one of those places that brings up some of the most prickly porcupine feelings from people. So be gentle with yourself and with your search committee. That said, noticing and also praying. Can I ask each of you in these next weeks to come to pray? Pray for the leadership of this congregation. Pray for the search committee. Pray that God would be preparing already a person who would be serving here and would do the good work that you would call them and God would call them to do. I'll get that in a second. And just to say, we can do none of this without the Holy Spirit. We can do none of it without God's abiding, sustaining presence, the breath, the word of God, and as we'll sing before we go, the voice of God, which we share.
I wanted to say that a few years ago, we spent a lot of time creating a mission statement for our church. Create a mission statement statement that included liturgical music as part of our mission. Us and that we know every Christian being.
How beautiful that a mission statement connecting to how we want to be together around music and worship. Yeah, specifically, what a vision and a gift. Friends, that may be actually a way in which the search committee frames its work, by taking that mission statement and by asking, how does this then apply to, and how does that express itself, right? Because a mission statement is nothing if it doesn't get lived out in the day-to-day. And so that's part of the work too. Friends, I'm going to hand out one more piece of paper. I promise, just one more. And this is your moment. I'm going to play for just a little bit, and I'm going to ask you if you would be willing to offer your, and I want to say this very specifically, what is your heartfelt prayer for the music ministry of Potomac Presbyterian Church? If you could just let your heart be connected to this process and to what you're longing for and what you pray is both possible and realized in this time. Prayer is powerful. It clarifies our intentions. Friends, would you offer your heartfelt prayer? And this is not something you need to even share with anyone, but we'll sing as we go and we'll offer some of those prayers in the time of prayer as we depart. I'm going to hand out some more, but friends, you don't need to share or talk with anyone else. Just what is your heartfelt prayer? Use as much or as little of the Post-it note as you need. All right. Friends, I wonder, and I know not everyone wants to sing out loud, but it's a moment maybe of playful sharing, or you can find another note, or you can just speak. Friends, if you feel inclined to share, would you be willing to read aloud what is your heartfelt prayer for this community as we begin our search together? Even if it's just a word or a phrase.
Synchronicity. Synchronicity.
Synchronicity. Thank you.
Remember the bell choir.
Remember the bell choir.
That the music leads us closer to God and each other.
Closer to God and each other.
Nominated by the church, appointed by God.
Nominated by the church and appointed by God.
The music leads us to a deeper, more meaningful relationship with Jesus.
Leads us to a deeper and more meaningful relationship with Jesus. Compassion.
I pray that the search committee finds a perfect fit in our director.
A perfect fit.
I pray we find this director that feels called to come here.
Someone who
Really called to this.
feels called to this place.
Inspiration.
Inspiration.
Yeah, to inspire all of us.
Someone on Zoom has one too.
Music will always be an integral part of worship experience.
Thank you, Zoom friends, for offering your prayer. Thank you. Sustainability.
My prayer is that our church finds someone who loves music and believes the power of music to draw us closer to God and another, and this person can genuinely say it works with all members of our congregation.
Thank you. Yeah.
Pray that the search committee finds personal person that can invigorate our music ministry.
Invigorating the music ministry. Yeah.
Intergenerational joy and peace.
Intergenerational joy. That'll preach. And peace.
To grow a more active and involved youth choir.
More active and involved youth choir.
Is that I would hope that the search process would be a non-divisive one, but rather it would embolden and enlighten our community and bring us closer together.
A process that brings us closer together and allows for honest and peaceful communication. Again, friends, I just want to remind you what you are endeavoring to do and what almost every church I know is endeavoring to do is sort of countercultural. Maybe it's not sort of, it's very countercultural. Learning how to listen, learning how to honor the goodness and the love at the heart of each individual as a gift of God, but then also finding ways to express and explore faith that, no, not about keeping everybody happy, but about making sure that the invitation is spread widely and expansively enough so that those who are there in that moment, in that time, know they are welcomed to the love of God. I don't know about you, but that's important work and challenging work that needs those prayers. So if you, as you go, would put your prayers up on the yellow sheet, or I'll come and collect them. I want to make sure the search committee can pray these prayers as we do our work. And with that, there is a hymn in front of you. Can we stand and sing verse 3 of Breath of God, Breath of Peace, as we put finally our voices together to sing Voice of God, Voice of Peace. Let's sing together, Voice of God, Voice of Peace. Sing that last phrase, come upon us. invite you to bow your head in prayer. Holy One, maker of voice, sound, rushing winds, songs, choirs, organs, trumpets, violins, and every instrument we know and don't know. Thank you for giving us so many ways to praise you, for giving us bodies that coordinate and create. Today we give thanks for this conversation, for the words you have given us, and for ways that you move our souls and beings. Thank you for calling us your people, for giving us ways to understand each other, even when we don't quite get it. From the heavens to the earth, to all under the earth, to the sea creatures, let us play and sing and dance and lift our hands in praise of you. Praise for all you have done and all you will do. Come upon us, come restore us, come inspire us. Breath, spirit, voice of God. Amen. Friends, thank you for your time.